All right. Hey, everybody. Anna Krueger here from Greenville, South Carolina. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm not sure if you can see. Maybe type in if you can see me. I can see myself, but if you cannot see me. So I think this is just it is Wednesday afternoon. Got from vacation and the internet has decided to go wonky. So hopefully you can hear and see me today. I do believe you can for sure see Matthew, who is really the highlight of today's webinar. So that's what matters most. So Matthew, I'm really excited to introduce you. Thank you for being here with us today. And I'm going to have you introduce yourself in just a second. So just for all of you to know the treat that you have today, Matthew had no sales experience, no real estate experience, and then in the height of the pandemic thought, let me into real estate. And actually, I think you joined a little before all that, but he stuck it out and decided to stay in state when the pandemic, very shortly after he joined the team. So we're going to talk a lot today about how he found success in the middle of a global pandemic with no sales experience. So we're going to cover that today. Also, we're really going to let where you are. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell people where you're from, how long you've been in real estate, what your position is.
Yeah, so I think you were breaking up a bit, but I think that's me. So hi everybody, my name is Matthew Benenson. I'm based out of Nashville, Tennessee. I'm with the Fykes Realty Group here serving all of Middle Tennessee. We help between 150 to 160 families every year buy and sell real estate with about $50 million in sales over the course of the life of this business. This year, I believe we are projected to do somewhere between 1.7, 1.8 in GCI, which is really exciting. I'm coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee. I grew up here. Just a bit of background on myself. I grew up here in the area in Middle Tennessee. I went away for college, went away for work. I did a lot of different things, but mostly my background is in music. So I was a trumpet player and a piano player for a long time. I've worked with a number of varied different types of artists, symphony orchestras. I've played with people like Stevie Wonder, Father John Misty, things like that. So a long time I was doing music, and then I moved back to Nashville in 2018, and in March 1st of 2020 was my first day with the Fykes Realty Group, which, as many of us know, was 2 weeks before everything really shut down. It was, I mean, truly, like, I was inside the office for maybe 5 days total before we stopped going in. So initially I got hired on as just basically a runner and apprentice to sort of learn. And then within a few weeks, they offered me the role that I'm currently in, which is the inside sales agent role. And I started in that in May after I got my license. And so I've been going for, I think next week is actually my 1 year anniversary in this role, which is really,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So even though you were with the team, you really started in inside sales where you were in a sales position after the height, after everything started with COVID. So I think that we're going to learn a lot from you today is basically what's going to happen. So one thing that I want to say too about Matthew is without having that background, one of my favorite things about working with Matthew is there's that teachable spirit. And so what I've observed is I'll say, hey, Matthew, let's work on this week. I think it's the next step for you. And there's like an ownership of it. And even one time there wasn't ownership for a quick minute because he got engaged and was a little bit distracted. And we had a conversation of, hey, I think you're distracted. And he quickly owned it and got totally back into that teachable mode. So I just want to say one thing that I think all of us need to have is that heart of, I don't know everything. And if someone else has done this and says this works, let me just listen. And I believe, Matthew, from working with you, I don't know if I've ever said that to you, but I think your teachable humility of just tell me what I need to do and then you do it, I would say that's a huge part of what's made you successful. So all of you listening, ask yourselves, am I someone who gets something from someone who knows? And then I think, I'm going to tweak it. I don't really like how that sounds. Or do you embrace it and say, let me give it a chance because we know it works? So that's one thing I love about Matthew. So if you have anything, any referrals for Nashville, Tennessee, Matthew's your guy. So we'll
Absolutely.
put in the chat box how you can find him. And then real quick introduction on me, and then the rest, Matthew, will go to you. I think most of you know. If you don't, I coach inside sales. I've done inside sales since 2006. And really, inside sales is all about talking with buyers and sellers and having them become a client. And I believe that's through relationship. So it's a sales position, yet really it's a relationship position. So as you learn how to build relationships with people, find out what they want, it's it's actually not too difficult to turn them into a client. So that's really the thing I'm passionate about. And Matthew is who does that for his team. So Matthew, why don't you tell us when you first started, what did you commit to that helped you start seeing success? Like what were some basic habits of your day that you said, when I did these things, even in the middle of a global pandemic, I did actually get some traction in my business, because there's probably someone who needs to hear that.
Yeah. So when I when I first started, and I'm laughing because it was just it was such a weird. I don't think I had any idea how weird of a time it was to be starting in real estate. I committed in my first couple days before I was even technically hired into this role to contacting 40 people a day, and so I was calling friends and family. I was literally Googling different vendors and just calling them. I was calling through lots of different people. So that was one of the first things that I just sort of kind of did to start to really get myself going in this role, to understand what it meant to have contacts, to have goals, and sort of keep them. I think personally for me, was um, I started running every day. I started meditating. I did a lot that the team here at Fykes and Anna definitely helped me with in terms of just mindset things that
Yeah.
really got me into a different place, understanding why I wanted to earn coming up with financial goals, figuring out why they were my goals, why they were
Yeah.
good goals for me. Um, and and I think having that support system around me was really important to
Yeah.
start.
Well, and let's dive a little deeper into that. And the way I see this call going, Matthew and I didn't pre-plan exactly what we're going to talk about when. Yet the way I see this playing out is, let's talk about mindset first, because I think for all of us, mindset really is the number one most important thing. You know, if you believe you'll be successful, you probably will be. If you have a humble mindset, you're going to learn. So let's start talking about mindset. Then we'll talk about some of your habits, and then we'll talk through some specific sales techniques, sales skill that really have paid off for you.
Great.
Before we do, tell everyone, how many contacts do you hit every day, and how many appointments are you setting on average a week? Just so they have some context of what these things have done for you, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah. So my contact goal is 50 contacts every day. That's phone based. If there happens to be a really great conversation over email or text, I mean, if I can get them on the phone later, that's even better. But it is 99% phone
Okay.
based contacts, and then 5 to 7 really appointments a week is what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully, continuing to get that number up.
Yeah. And what's great is it didn't used to be that. What was your when you started, and even before you saw the big shift back in the fall,
Mhm.
personally, not a market shift, but he shifted himself,
Right.
which we'll talk about. You went from what to 5 to 6 a week? What were you doing?
In my first month, in my first 30 days, I set 2 appointments. It
Yeah.
was rough.
Yeah. And now you're at 5 to 6 consistently, hitting 50 contacts consistently, and you're really clear on your financial goals, which is really great. He's actually hitting above what his team asks him to do, which I think is awesome. And you haven't been in the role quite a year yet during a global pandemic with no background experience. So all of that just speaks to it works. So let's talk about mindset first, because I know from some of the people I see in the chat there, some of the people joining us just got into real estate, or they might be new in the role. So what
Yeah.
were some specific mindset things you did to get yourself in the place of like, I can do this. In fact, I will do this. Talk us through that a little bit.
So I think one of the big things that really helped sort of right off the bat, and something that Anna really helped me with early on, was understanding what my purpose was in my role. So I was calling people and getting rejected every day, and it's not easy
Yeah.
to be lead generating and to be in this role. And I think we had a lot of conversations about reframing that, and talking about how we could approach this as I get up every day to help people. That's what I do. That's what my job is. I'm helping people either learn more. I'm helping repair their relationship if they've had a bad experience previously. I'm helping them accomplish uh, things that they didn't think they could in real estate. A lot of the time, as I'm sure we'll talk about, very often it's an education piece with folks who don't even realize that they can get to where they can with real estate.
Yeah. Well, and I like how you said the mindset shift of helping people or restoring their relationship to real estate. So one thing, and if you're not familiar with this tool, that is okay. There is a tool called Strengths Finder that tells you what you're good at. It's your strength. What are you good at? And one of Matthew's is restorative. Well, restorative is all about fixing things, right? So when that mindset was struggling and we talked about it, like, I can tell you're off your game, like, what's going on? We discovered a lot of it was like, oh, it's a sales role, right? And so we shifted it to, well, wait, you have restorative as one of your top strengths. Like, you're good at restoring things. How could you view these calls as being restorative? And it turned, if I understand correctly, Matthew, you can correct me, but now people who were upset or agitated when you first called them, it shifted it to, oh, here's something I can fix. I need to restore their relationship or their view of real estate or realtors. And to me, observing you, that was when things shifted, is when you changed your mindset from sales to relationship and restoring, getting them on track with their goals.
I think that's absolutely correct. And I think that a lot of that initially I was seeing through calling for sale by owners, expired listings, things like that. But also just even calling anyone now, I sort of approach it with the idea of, okay, I know that this person on the other line has an idea of what real estate is like, and I'm here to get them the real truth of what we can do and how we can help them best.
Yeah. So there's something I want all of you to write down, all of you listening, is our job is to listen to people's stories and then strategize and educate to help them get what they want. And I'll say it again. Yes, it's a sales role, because if we don't have any sales, we're not paying our bills, feeding our families, right? And achieving the things we want to achieve. We can't give money away if we don't have money to give, right? But if you have the mindset, again, our job is to listen to people's stories and then strategize and educate to help them get what they want. What you'll find is you have all the sales you need, because you're taking a consultant, almost like you are a real estate coach perspective. So Matthew, I think that's awesome that you shared that. And then what else, if anything, if there is anything else, did you do that helped you mindset wise in the position? Because again, I think we have quite a few new people here. And I also know some people are just having a hard time because they're tired. So what else did you do that helped your mindset?
Yeah. So I mean, all sorts of things, little things like standing up every 20 minutes. I'm lucky to have a standing desk that I can raise and lower. So sometimes I'll stand, sometimes I'll lower it depending on where I am. Sometimes I'll just take a 2-minute break and do jumping jacks. Sometimes I'll take an energy break and grab a snack and walk around my house. There's a lot of different small things like that. Bigger things also included getting really clear on why I was doing what I was doing. I think that was a big step for me, because I when I kind of started, it was really just like, yeah, this is a job because I don't have work right now because I can't.
I just lost my job because of a pandemic, so I'll do this.
Right. Yeah. So it was kind of something that was, I wouldn't say that I fell into it, but I would say that I wasn't super clear on why I was getting into it in the first place, other than it was there and it was something I could do. And I think with Anna's help, especially, I got really clear on, okay, got really clear on goals. Like, I want to buy an engagement ring because I was planning on proposing, which I did. We're getting married.
And then he did. He set the goal, and then we watched it happen. It was so cool.
Yeah. So there was that. There was saving up to buy a house. There was going to visit my best friend out in Colorado. There were some really clear goals that we got to, as well as sort of uncovering why I'm doing what I'm doing, which is kind of like Anna said, to help people, to listen to people, and to help them realize goals that they don't even necessarily know that they might have.
Yeah, which is great. I don't know how all of you listening have approached your role or what brought you here. But in full transparency, kind of like Matthew, I got into real estate because I got a call one day that I was laid off my job. And I'd already been interviewing with realtors, but I was like, yeah, I don't know. And then I got the job because I got laid off. So it was like a utility, right? It wasn't like I've always wanted to do this my whole life.
Right.
And also, like Matthew, what changed for me was getting clear on financial goals. So I just want to ask all of you, how clear are you on your financial goals? And I don't just mean I have a number in my head. When I started, it was, I want to make this much money because that's what I made in my last job. So that would be cool to do in real estate. And there was really no meaning behind it. It was like, let's just match last year's tax return. Sounds great. And what changed for me, and what Matthew is saying, is thinking through, what do I actually want to do with my money? What ministries do I want to support? What nonprofits do I care about? Do I want to buy a house? And how quickly would I like to pay that house off? And what kind of trips might I want to go on? And when I got real clear on that, it made the goal matter. And usually you get some weird number, right? Like, Matthew, what's your goal this year for closings?
I think it's 83 or 84.
Yeah, 83. Yeah, I know it. It's 83.
83.
And it's a weird number, but it's because it's tied to very deeply personal goals. It's not just, oh, this sounds good. It's to buy an engagement ring, to buy a house, to go see my best friend in Colorado. I need this much money coming in, and that means I need this many closings. So it just kind of changes everything. It's now we're not only helping the client, but hey, I'm also helping myself with the goals I have to do it. So I think that's huge. Now you might be wondering, how do you figure that out? And part of what Matthew and I did was the economic model, which sounds boring, but Matthew, it was kind of fun, wasn't it? The economic model.
Yeah. It's a good
I think it sounds like a boring document, but actually it's amazing. And we do talk about that in the class, Mastering Inside Sales, which starts next week. So we're not going to go deep into that today, but a lot of what Matthew is referencing is in the class, Mastering Inside Sales, which starts next week. And we'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. So you got clear on your goals, which helped your mindset. You also thought, I'm helping these people. I'm not like selling them something. I'm listening to what they want and then helping them get it.
Yep.
And then what would you say are some of the practical things you did? So someone's like, all right, what should I do every day that will help me have success? Even if I don't totally know what I'm doing yet, just what do I need to do starting now? What would some of those habits be?
Yeah. So I think for me, one of the big ones that was a bit of a more recent addition that's actually helped me quite a bit is planning out the day before, or taking some time to look at where I am, check in with my goals, check in with my weekly, daily, all that, and see what I need to get for the rest of the week, so that I can wake up the next morning and know, okay, this is how many people I want to talk to. This is where I'm going with this lead source. Whatever it may be, I can just be really clear. Clarity is the name of the game, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Matthew knows it's 50 contacts a day based on conversions. And when I say conversions, what I mean is I need to talk to, 23 people. And when I talk to 23 people, I set one appointment based off my skill, my conversion ratio. And you only know this through tracking. And we're not going to get deep into that today. But again, in Mastering Inside Sales, in session 4, I give you a tracker. So you'll be able to track when you take that class and know what to track and how to track it. But that's the name of the game. And so if today I hit 48 contacts and I know I need 50 to hit my goal, I either need to stay a little late and get 2 more, or tomorrow I need 52. Because by the end of the week, I've got to have my number. I need my 250 total. So that's great. One thing you're clear on. What about things like scripting or habits to build your actual skill? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I'm lucky to be on an awesome team here in Nashville at the Fykes Group. We script practice together every morning as part of our initial morning when we get in. We script practice for 30 minutes. I also have two script partners on the side that I practice with every week. And then on my own, at least when I was starting, I was constantly writing them down. I almost viewed them like, like a theater script or like a TV script. I was writing them down. I was memorizing it. I was getting all of those lines and questions in my head so that when the time came that I was actually on the phone with someone, I could have those questions just at my disposal, ready to go. But it also, for me, cleared my head so that I could listen better. So I think scripting is really important for not just having the questions ready to go, but it also allows you to be more open and to be more ready to hear what the other person is saying so you can better help them.
Yes, I love that you said that. That was not planned, but I am so glad you said it, because I find a lot of people hesitate to script. And what we mean when we say that is practice your language patterns, practice the written script, right, of what you say to someone. And I used to battle this too, because I want to be genuine and on a call. I don't want to be reading some script, right? I want to be me. Right. And it's like this weird thing. It's almost like when you're hiking up a mountain and it's really difficult and strenuous, but you get to the top and then it's just downhill easy when you go back. It's almost like it feels fake, it feels unnatural until you memorize it and master it. And as soon as you memorize and master it, you know it so well that you don't even have to think about it. And now, like Matthew said, you're just freed up to be on the call talking to someone. Yep. I'm sure all of you, if you can think of a previous job you had, usually the first 3 to 6 months, you feel like, I don't know what I'm doing. I think about it all. I don't know what I'm doing. But then you kind of cross this threshold where you walk in, maybe you act like you own the place because you just know what you're doing. And so that's what scripting does for you, is it does feel weird until you master it. And then like Matthew said, once you master it, you're free to just be yourself and listen. Yeah.
And I'm still on the hunt every day for better questions and for better things to ask. And I don't have my desk in front of me, but if you go to my desk here in the office, you'll see I have just Post-it notes of different questions that Anna has given me, different suggestions for how to make those scripts better that I'm always trying to implement.
Yeah, and I'll show you, because I think you can, I am in my workspace. I have them now too as well. If you can see that, those are a list of questions that I use a lot as an ISA coach. They're just right there. So they're more coaching questions now, since I'm more talking to ISAs versus buyers and sellers, but it's the same thing. So have questions in front of you. The thing that's great when you have stuff on the wall in your workspace is you start to memorize it just by looking at it, right? You look at something enough. I find having these questions on the wall, I can erase them probably every 3 months and put new ones up there, because they're internalized past a certain point. So let me show real quick where to get some of these questions. And then Matthew, I want to talk about your closing and how you started closing more on a call and the difference that made for you. Okay. But what all of you can do, if you go to a website, annascoaching.com, and I'll share a screen here in just a second, go to annascoaching.com, and you'll see a screen that looks like this. And actually, this pop-up box is the class we're talking about that Matthew's referencing. He's had the training from that class. If you click on Learn More, this starts next week. And in that class, the very first day, you get a buyer sheet and a seller sheet. And it is literally, read this and just say the words when you're on the phone with a buyer or a seller. And it would be really hard for you to not be successful. So there's a whole list of questions. And then throughout the class, that's just day one, the whole class is centered around what should you be tracking? What are some of the language patterns? We give over 19 language patterns in the class. Things like, how do you leave a voicemail that gets a callback? How do you set an appointment that actually shows up? And Matthew, you have a good show up ratio right now. What's your ratio, if you know off the top of your head?
It's just about 70%.
Yeah. And a lot of people, when they come into the coaching, are around 40 to 50. So think about that. What if all you got from the class was having an extra 20 to 30% of your appointments actually show up? That's 2 to 3 out of 10. That's going to make a big difference in your income. So check out Mastering Inside Sales. It starts next week, May 12th, 1 week from today. And a lot of what Matthew's talking about came from that class. Awesome. Laura says, I highly recommend this class. Thank you. Okay. So let's hear from you on closing. So first, what is closing? And then what difference did that make for you? Because I think that's a really specific skill everyone can take away from this webinar today.
Yeah, so closing is any time in a call when you, this isn't going to be the exact definition, but it's anytime the call when you basically make them hear that you guys are going to be working together. So that can be in the form of a soft close of we'd love to work together. That can be in a harder close, like, yeah, let's sit down and meet. It can be in past, like when you meet with our team, wouldn't it make sense to sit down and talk about this and make this, whatever, your motivation is, happen? There's a lot of different types. And something that I've been working on with Anna is really getting those number of closes per call up. And that has correlated really well with me setting a lot more of these appointments and them holding. There's been a direct correlation, I think.
Yeah. Well, and if I remember a couple of weeks ago, we said record calls, which check in your state. Not everyone can record calls. In Matthew's state, he can. But we said record one where you don't set it, record one where you do set it. And if I remember correctly, the one call that you did not set an appointment, you didn't close 7 times, which is the magic number. Yeah. The one you did set, you had over 7 closings. So there really is a correlation. So let me just show real quick. What's funny, I actually just taught this today in the Mastering Inside Sales class that's already going. So I'm just going to put up on screen for you guys. You're going to get a little sneak peek. I hadn't planned to do this, but actually it makes sense with what we're talking about. On the screen, there you go. You will see different types of closes. And there's a ton of closes. I used to think closing was simply, in fact, let me show you this screen here. I used to think closing was simply, let's meet. When can you meet? When can you meet? And I thought, goodness, 7 times on one phone call, that sounds absolutely obnoxious. Right. And then I was relieved to find out there's a lot of different ways you can close. So take a picture of the screen. That'll give you some ideas. My personal favorite is the assumptive close, because if I'm assuming this person's going to work with me, then I'm going to say things like, the next step is to meet with us, or you're going to love working with Tiffany Fykes, or once you close with us, you will be part of our Client for Life program. We throw parties, we give away pies, like we have all kinds of things for you after you close with us. All of those are assumptive closes, right? I'm not asking anything. I'm saying when you meet with us, or you're going to love this person. So there's a lot of ways you can close. So Matthew, how did you raise your awareness? Like someone might be hearing, okay, I need to close 7 times on the call, but how do I know if I'm doing that? So give them what you did, and then we'll wrap up the webinar.
Yeah, so I did also, in addition to recording my calls, I had the list of closes in front of me, one of the ones that similar to Anna just showed us. I was writing them down, I was scripting them out, and during the call, I would make a little tick mark every time I closed. And obviously you don't catch them every time, but I would record some calls in Tennessee. As long as you let the person that you're talking to know you're recording, you can record. It's legal to record. So I would record the call, check, make check marks along, and then I would go back and check my work and see how I was doing to make sure that I was staying aware, and really making sure that I was getting those 7 closes every call.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what I'm hearing, if I'm hearing you right, you would track it on the call. So, I just said a close, tick mark. Yep. And then you would check it by listening to the recording to see if you actually caught them all.
That's right.
Okay, cool. And then if I remember correctly, the first week we had you do that, you were averaging like 3 a call, something like that.
Yeah, it was.
And then it incrementally, it seems like within about 3 weeks, you were averaging closer to 7, if I'm remembering that right.
Yeah, it took a little bit. I kind of ramped up. I was 5 to 6 one week, 6 to 7, then finally got to sort of 7 after about 3 weeks or so. So
yeah, and that's very, very common. So if you're listening and you're like, okay, I want to work on this, just know it's normal when you first start tracking it to not be where you want to be, and that's okay. It's just awareness. The example I'll use, I'm working on drinking a gallon of water a day. I definitely need to step it up today, but this is on my desk. Awareness. Well, because this is on my desk, simply being aware has caused me to drink more water today. I've been drinking it on this webinar, for Pete's sake. So that alone increases success. So with tracking, it's actually really simple to increase your closings. You just start counting how many you're doing on a call. You do that enough weeks and you'll eventually get to 7. It's actually not too hard to increase it. And then Laura says, I agree 100%, 30 minutes, 7 closes. There you go. Awesome. So we want to respect your time, and we are at time. Lastly, hang on, Matthew, because I want you to tell them where to find you if they have a referral for Nashville.
Absolutely.
But again, for the class, I highly recommend you guys take it. And I'm not just saying this because I'm the teacher. Go to annascoaching.com. You'll see the class Mastering Inside Sales. And here's the deal about how to convert leads. When the pandemic started, I entertained myself by sitting down and thinking, what are all of the things that I wish I had known when I was a new ISA? Made this huge list, shared it with others, said, what would you add to this list? And that is how it became a 6-month program. So we didn't set out to write a 6-month program. It was, well, how long will it take to teach everything? And my goal is like Matthew, people in that program, they know their financial goal. They know how to track. They know, hey, I need 50 contacts to hit my financial goal because I think like a business owner, like I get it. Techniques, closing patterns, all that stuff. So all of that's in that program. Again, it starts next week, 1 week from today. Just go to annascoaching.com. You can check it out. And then Matthew, real quick, where do people find you if they have a referral?
Yeah, so they can find me at fykesrealtygroup.com. You can Google us or go to the website. I think Hannah has my email that she can put in, which is matthew@fykesgroup.com. And I do just want to say, I feel like I could have done fine in real estate in my first year, but I cannot tell you how invaluable Anna's coaching has been for me this entire year. I have learned so much. It has truly been a catalyst for success for me. And so if you have the chance to learn from her, she is just the best. So take that opportunity the first chance you get.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Matthew. Well, you've been great to teach because you can teach. And if someone doesn't take it and own it and master it, it's not nearly as fun, number one, and you just don't see the results. And so I just have to say thank you for being so teachable. You really are a lot of fun to work with. Thanks. Matthew and I laugh a lot when we get together, but we also get a lot done. So you really are awesome to work with. So,
thank you.
All right, guys. Well, I want to respect your time. So we're going to close out. Check out annascoaching.com. You'll find the class that starts next week right there. $199 a month. You just need one closing. And I'm sorry, but if you only get one closing, something's wrong, right? Like you should get way more closings. But even at just one closing for the whole 6 months, it's a 6 times ROI at the average price. I had someone message me today, send a little private message on Facebook, and he said, I've had $10 million of additional revenue directly as a result of this class. So before the class, he was having 2 appointments held a week. After the class, he's having 8 appointments held a week. And he said he did the math and kind of looked at everything, and it equals $10 million worth of money to the team, which is huge. So check it out, $199 a month, 6 months, and you'll get everything Matthew's talked about today, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging with us today. We know you have a lot of things you could do, so thank you for being with us. And hopefully I will see you next week in class. All right. Bye, everybody.